Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. If you're watching this at night, I know that the Braves played today, but at the time we're recording this, we don't know what happened in that game. What we can talk about is Tuesday night's game, and it looked like the Braves were heading to their fifth straight win. We got some decent innings out of Blewett. Bummer did a real nice job. But, you know, we said the Braves were going to have to hit, and eventually it all imploded. And this bullpen is just not good enough, not even close to good enough to cover 9 innings. And Alex, I want to ask you this. You have $10,000 on the line. $10,000. Who the hell in this Atlanta Braves bullpen, even Rossell Iglesias, do you trust to close a one-run game at the end? None of them. I don't trust anybody in this bullpen right now. And they didn't do anything to replace the guys that were there. And I'm tired of this, it's just because AJ Minter costs $11 million a year. They could have easily re-signed AJ Minter. They had a deal in place with Jeff Hoffman for 3 years, $50 million. You're telling me they couldn't have re-signed AJ Minter? They could have. That's a lie. Stop putting it on anybody else. They chose not to address this bullpen, and they thought, hey, we're going to get cute. I've been good at this in the past. I'm going to go out there and get Hector Neris and Craig Kimbrell and Jesse Chavez, and we're going to just figure this thing out as we go. They didn't address the bullpen. They didn't address the starting pitching depth. Both of those things are huge, huge problems for this team. I think the bats, we've seen the offense pick it up. But the depth of this staff is atrocious. It's atrocious. And now you're without Spencer Strider for probably a month. I don't know how they're going to survive, Alex. They better hit the hell out of the baseball.
Yeah, the offense is going to have to carry him. And so far, I think it's done a pretty damn good job. Outside of that first couple weeks of the season, the bats have come alive. All of the big guys are doing their part. There are a couple of black holes, but we knew that. Orlando Arcia cannot be on this team anymore. I don't want to be too negative. I want to be positive in this. Sean Murphy's hitting. Drake Baldwin should never see AAA ever again. Matty O is hitting. Austin Riley is hitting. There's some concerns with Ozzie Albies. I'm not one of those guys, but people do have reason to be a little concerned. Verdugo has been a blessing sent from the Lords above. He's going to be a guy that, he even when Profar comes back, you really can't convince me this guy maybe shouldn't be in the lineup over Profar because of the postseason suspension. So the bats are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, we're going to pretty much have to win every single Schwellenbach and Grant Holmes start. Hopefully, Chris Sale picks it up. He's got it this week in Arizona. We talked about it earlier. Not exactly the best get-right spot. But then you got Colorado after that. Hitter-friendly park, but absolutely awful, awful team. I think the rotation will be fine, especially when Spencer Strider comes back. The bullpen, on the other hand, is they did really well against the Twins. But this is a unit that's going to rear its ugly head pretty much every chance it gets. It's going to bite Brian Snicker and Alex Anthopoulos in the butt. And there's really nothing we can do besides what we're doing, and that's churning out DFA guys until we get to the trade deadline. And then at that point, you're just hopeful that Alex Anthopoulos has enough coin in his pocket. All the reports from Ken Rosenthal suggest that we've got $14 million to spend and even more cash on hand that could have gone to bolstering the bullpen, that he can spend that at the trade deadline. That's really all we're really doing is trying to patchwork this bullpen, hopefully until we get to – and that's a long time away.
I have no idea. It is so mind-numbingly dumb that they did not replace AJ Minter. If you don't want to,
people talking about how Liberty Media is cash strapping Alex Anthopoulos, and listen, we've had conflicting reports. Ken Rosenthal, like I just said $14 million.
Well, we haven't had any conflicting reports. But no one else. There has not been a single report from any person. Not from the team.
Trustworthy.
There has been any trustworthy person outside of just the fact that people are making up this stuff on Twitter that this team was cash strapped and payroll went down. We just assumed that Alex Anthopoulos. The reality of the situation is Alex Anthopoulos has never been a big spender in free agency. His biggest contract handed out in free agency has been to Marcell Ozuna. He has let every single big free agent that we've ever had walk out the door in free agency. It is not, he doesn't like free agency. He likes to find diamonds in the rough. He likes to make trades. That's how he's always done it. He likes extending his own guys. Like, he has a track record of doing this. This is how he operates. He doesn't like paying big money to bullpen dimes. He's done it one time, Will Smith. It didn't work out. He hasn't done it since. Like, these are all things. There hasn't been one trustworthy source that's ever said that. In fact, Alex Anthopoulos, Terry McGurk, everything they said the entire offseason was that they have money to spend. And Ken Rosenthal has confirmed this. Yet these people run wild on Twitter with these rumors that they don't have any money to spend. They had a deal in place with Jeff Hoffman for 3 years, $45 million. You're telling me if that deal had gone through, they wouldn't have signed Jerks and Profar or another outfielder? They would have rolled with Brian De La Cruz and Jared Kelenic as their everyday starters? You're telling me that's what they would have done? No. This is all just made up crap from people on Twitter. They didn't address the bullpen, and they let a guy like Griffin Canning walk out the door over $5 million because they trusted Ian Anderson, Bryce Elder, and AJ Smith-Shawver. How has that worked out? Those were decisions made by the general manager. Stop blaming Liberty Media for everything.
Yeah, it's really hard. I think the one thing that, really sticks in my craw is the fact that, and it wasn't one time, it wasn't two times, it was probably 4 or 5 or 6 times that multiple people said payroll was going to rise from last year. I think that's what really sticks in my craw, and it didn't. In fact, it went down a considerable amount. People can stay dodging the luxury tax this and doing that because they're a publicly traded company, except that the guy who is wielding all of the power literally told you that it was going to rise. And I think, more than anything, what it is Alex Anthopoulos didn't see the value in some of these deals, right or wrong. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. And in some instances, he was right. In some instances, he was wrong. Charlie Morton, great job letting him walk. AJ Minter, not so great letting him walk. The hip, obviously it was a concern. Obviously, it shouldn't have been. But, I think more than anything, Alex Anthopoulos made judgment calls on a lot of these areas when it came to pulling the trigger on free agent deals. And he didn't. He didn't. And I think it's as simple as that. I agree with you that, the one guy that anybody should really trust is Ken Rosenthal and all of this. And even if the Braves were still trying to stay underneath the luxury tax, we're 14 or so under the luxury tax. You don't think two decent? We're not even talking about high leverage guys. We're talking about people who aren't minor leaguers.
Dude, they could have signed Jose Quintana and kept Griffin Canning on this roster for less than $10 million. Yeah. Like, stop sitting. Like, and by the way, we're still 8th in payroll. Like, if you can't create a contender, a better roster that's 9-14 with no bullpen worth a damn and terrible pitching depth with the 8th highest payroll, we've lost the plot. The Braves have never been this big spender.
And on top of that, it's not like the Jerks and Profar suspension has completely like, the offense is doing its part now. Like, the offense is clearly working. And I think Verdugo goes a lot to do that. But even outside of Verdugo, the guys are starting to hit. Like, the areas that we didn't spend money are the areas that are still concerned. We started the offseason with 3 of the top concerns. Outfielder, in my opinion, was number 1. And then you go bullpen, and then you go rotation. Today, they are still outfield, bullpen, rotation. Or it's probably bullpen, rotation, outfield because Verdugo.
Yeah. I can't wrap. I mean, like, even if you want to say like this was a hard cap at $250 million, which again is not true, but if you want to make that up in your head and live in this fairy world, what about the fact that we spent $20 million acquiring Jared Kelenic, whose biggest contribution is creating controversy because he didn't hustle to second base? What about the fact that we handed a guy on a one-off year $42 million in Jerks and Profar and just didn't a move that the Braves don't typically make? And I know we can all just give him a pass for the PED thing. I don't give him a pass for the PED thing because if you look at Jerks and Profar's entire career, guys don't just all of a sudden on a whim have this breakout career and they just
a decade into the league.
Yeah. And just like, oh, boom, all of a sudden I figured it out. No, it was either a very lucky season or, in this case, it was PEDs. But there's a reason 29 other teams didn't give him that deal. There's a reason. And we did. And we're paying the price for that. And I could go even further. I'm not going to do it. But the simple fact is They didn't address this bullpen, and I'm talking about Alex Anthopoulos didn't address this pitching staff, and he trusted guys like Elder and AJ Smith-Shawver and Ian Anderson, some of which you should have no business being in the majors. And this is the result. It's a problem. Braves bats better carry this team, or it could be a long, long season at Truist Park. A lot more to talk about after the break.